Hey guys, how are you? How is everybody today? Hope you're all having a wonderful weekend. Fix the focus here. Welcome back to another live. As always, the tradition here is to please let me know how the video sounds, how the audio sounds, if everything is coming through clear. It's been a long week, right? Some crazy stuff's been going down. I wanted to touch base with you guys as always. I'm going to give my co-host here, Nala, a treat. So here you go. Oh yeah. If you hear her chewing and munching, that's because she's enjoying that little snack. So today's topic is kind of a touchy topic. It's a controversial topic in the sense of we all know that the snake oil salesman, or that idea of snake oil, people selling false claims, has existed for a very long time within the UFO topic. It is not anything new. The other day I was thinking about it, and it's pretty obvious, right? Because it's easy to sell false truths when we don't have a clear answer. We're not really getting any answers from the government or from I would say the people looking into this at times too can be a little bit tricky with their sources or where they get their information from. Of course, I am not a child or somebody that is not aware that these kinds of secrets could maybe endanger the safety of your family's life, your life, whatever, right? If it's something that could shock the world and change the world, who knows how dangerous the repercussions could be for sharing some information that isn't supposed to be out there. But I don't know about you guys. I don't know if it's the amount of time I've been looking into this, how long it's been, but I really can't hear people tell me, oh, a source told me, but I can't tell you who, but you have to trust me. Especially when it comes to this topic and thinking about moving this topic forward or trying to find the truth. That idea of somebody told me, but I can't tell you who it is. When it comes to something like this, something that could potentially reshape the way we see reality, and it could actually bring a lot of calm and peace to experiencers or people that have had negative encounters with the phenomenon, or people that have lost their jobs, their wives, or I was just going to say their wives or husbands, their partners, their families, whatever it is. But it's tricky to tango with the phenomenon. It's tricky to dance with this without the rest of the world looking at you like you're off your rocker. So, as always, with the idea of the experiencer in mind, which is what I try to focus on always, because I feel like that is probably the most important part of this whole thing, is the experiencers, their interactions with the phenomenon. And I am not a person that cares too much about the tech on the craft, to be honest. I understand that it could change the world, but I'm no scientist. I'm not going to re-engineer it. So what I care about is understanding that, one, we're not alone, that reality is much more vast and much more intricate than we could ever believe. And that hopefully this could bring upon a paradigm shift, a change, right? And I hope that that's the direction this heads in. I'm looking at the live chat, and there seems to be a lot of peaches in there. I guess that means butts, but I see that one time I was abducted by aliens is here in the live chat. What's up, girls? Andy, what's up, man? Let's check out the live chat. Sofa, thank you for being here as always. Morcavius, thank you. UFOT, wonderful channel. Make sure to go check them out. Amazing people. All the channels that are popping up in the live chat right now, for those of you watching this as a replay or watching this live, you can find the links to their channels down in the description of this live, there's 2 links. I think the second one says UFO Friends. You click there and there's a long list of channels. If any of you guys in the live chat want me to add your channel there, just let me know, shoot me a message. And if either of UFOT or that one time I was abducted, if you guys aren't on that list, let me know, because I think you are. I'm almost 100% positive. But let's check out the live chat. Let's see what you guys are saying. Thank you, Ethereal Aura, for telling me it's all clear. I see Dope Nose is here. What's up, Dope Nose? He says, hear me out. Maybe, just maybe, UFOs use snake oil as a power source. You know, the funny thing is when I was trying to create the thumbnail for this live, I just wanted to switch it up a little bit in comparison to all my other thumbnails. I always use the same thumbnail for the lives. I was kind of looking into snake oil just because I was looking for something to use for a thumbnail. And people still use snake oil today. I had no idea that people still sell snake oil. And there's actually like people on YouTube claiming that it does things. I don't know. I didn't look into it. But I think it's a good example of how a lot of the past claims that these snake oil salesmen or snake oil, whatever, men or women, he or her, whatever, right, that they make, sometimes they echo and they continue and they grow and they get a life of their own. You'll see that so much within this topic. And if you're new to the topic, I want you to get ready for the twists, the turns, you know, the muddy boots, as some people like to say, the murky waters, because it's real. Okay. And this is coming from somebody that has looked into this for a very long time. I'm not I'm not a top tier, brilliant UFO researcher or whatever. I'm just a dude that's been interested in the phenomenon for a very long time and looking into it. So do not think that this is just going to be first person you hear tell you that they know the truth. That's it. That's not it. Because you're going to hear that many, many times over the years. And with the way things are going right now, seeing as even Lou Elizondo is saying, if we want to see bodies, we have to wait 5 years. I never expected to see bodies, but I'm saying the disclosure process is a process. I don't know what the end goal is, how it will play out, where that's headed. I don't work for anybody. It's just me here with you guys. You know, I'm probably just as far out of the loop as anyone. I have no sources. I've had maybe some people approach me online, but like, you can't really just let anybody come and approach you with this kind of stuff. That's my big thing, right? So maybe they don't keep trying to send me stuff or talk to me because I don't really like kiss their boots, as you may say, if that makes sense. When it comes to, oh, thank you for telling me this. Like, okay, half the stuff I've already heard, 80% of the stuff actually I've already heard. There really hasn't been anything that has caught me off guard in this topic for the last 7 years or more that I haven't already heard before. So I would suggest, if you're new to the topic, my co-host has decided to jump off her seat. I would suggest, if you're new to the topic, to read some of the best works. Find good UFO researchers. You know, look at Stanton Friedman, look at Jack Vallée, look at John Mack's work, look at some of the big names that aren't tainted, and just realize, we all need to realize, all of us, that this topic, we still don't have an answer for it. Everyone's kind of just wandering in the dark. We're looking for the answers. So you will make mistakes. And if you're a public figure, or you're like me, where I'm sharing my face to the whole world, I will definitely make mistakes. 1000%. You better believe it. Because unless I can bring you guys a craft and just roll it out and throw the tarp off of it, and even then, who knows if it's an alien craft or whatever, an ET craft, whatever, there will be mistakes. Like, don't make me bring up the Nazca mummies from 2017. There were a lot of today's prominent researchers tied to that. And it really was nothing. Don't make me bring up Stephen Greer's little alien beings. Those little mummy beings. Again, those are all things that we should remember and not forget, and just understand that in the future, there will be people coming into this topic as it gets, bigger and bigger, and people start accepting it more and more, that want to learn, they want to understand it. And they're going to be very skeptical because they're not living the snake oil salesman experience like some of us did. They're not in the moment, kind of feeling it. Let me give a good example of this. Who remembers Stan Romanek? Oof. Red flags all over the place, right? But I remember first hearing his story and thinking, oh, wow, that's interesting. I've always been open-minded. I always try not to jump the gun and point fingers. I let people talk. I'm the kind of guy that sits in the back of the room and reads the room. So I'm hearing out the story. Something doesn't feel right. It just seems like too much, right? His story gets bigger and bigger, gets picked up by the news. If you don't know his story, there's a documentary online. You can check it out. He was an experiencer. There's this footage of an ET peeking, a famous clip of an ET peeking from a window or behind a window from outside of the house or around a corner, which seems to be like the cliche that has tainted this forever, because now every single video, not every single, but most videos that you see online will be an alien peeking from behind a window, or an alien poking from behind a corner or behind a tree or behind something. And for a intelligent, advanced species that could just manipulate us with their minds and do all the many things that we have read about and heard about, it fascinates me that they would be peeking from behind a wall or a window or whatever. Like they could just walk through the wall, paralyze you, and make you see whatever they want, because that seems to be what the literature says on this topic. So there are things that we can view and we can think about when looking at this topic. Now, the snake oil salesman thing, people, as always in this field, you guys will know exactly what I'm talking about. There's this battle between the believer and the skeptic. And I truly believe the safest part for anyone to stand is in the middle. Look, I believe in the phenomenon. I would not be doing this right now if I didn't believe in the phenomenon. There are many other things that I could be doing, like many other things that I'm interested in, that I could be talking about or putting my attaching my face to. There are many other things. Trust me. Let's be realistic. It's not the most cool thing in the world to be the guy that's talking about UFOs to most average people. And you and I, we might be a little bit different, but it's just, it's a tricky subject, and the skeptics, this battle between the skeptics and the believers, I think it's best to stand in the middle, man. I believe in this phenomenon 100%. And like I said, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't. It would be foolish of me. It would be insane if I was doing this and I didn't believe in the phenomenon. And I've been getting the vibe that anytime that I question something or speak a little bit in this direction or try to say, hey, check this out, look at this, isn't this kind of funny, isn't this kind of weird, I get shut out, turned off. People don't want to talk to me. It's like I see they're confusing me with a blind skeptic, or same thing happens with some skeptics. They confuse me with a blind believer. Look, I believe in the phenomenon, but I do believe that there are many things out there that I said, like I was saying, or what this is all about, or snake oil. There's a lot of stuff. And what we're going to see is intelligent people coming into this topic and asking questions that maybe because the researchers are our heroes or we look up to them, we don't ask. I hate to be in a room and hear everybody saying the same thing. I don't know about you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. But there's one thing that I hate is rolling with a crew or being in a room and we're all saying exactly the same thing, because that's just a cult, right? We all need to have our own ideas, our own concepts. The Avengers are not the Avengers if each of them don't have their own superpower and their own story. Like, that's how it works. So I don't like the idea that we can't have different opinions and still get the same end goal, get to the same end and find the truth. Let me check out the live chat. So back on Stan Romanek real quick. I'm bringing him up because I've seen people like, share his story again or bring him up again, not knowing his full story, not knowing the allegations that were put on him or the crimes that he committed, according to, I guess, the law, which are, gross. It's just crazy. And his story is just off the walls. I remember watching him being like, this can't be real. Like there was this one story or one part of his story where he said he was like bike riding somewhere and he got jumped by the men in black. They like stopped and beat him up. And I honestly was watching it like, no way, dude. No way you got into a fight. My co-host, look, you guys can finally see her. I don't think she's ever been on camera before. No way you guys got into a fight with no way he got into a fight with the men in black. Right? I feel like if you get into a fight with a group of soldiers and you're Stan Romanek, they are going to leave you in a wheelchair. They're not going to just like bust your nose up or do any of that. Like, let's be realistic, right? And I remember, I'll never forget this. He's telling the story. His shirt's all ripped. He's got a green alien on his shirt or some kind of alien on his shirt, which reminds me kind of some of my art, but it was more cartoonish. It was more out there. And I was like, he was explaining like what he did to fight them off. And I was like, dude, I don't believe any of this. Kind of like the super soldier stuff that I hear. I don't believe any of that stuff because I'm like, they don't look like they could do anything in reality. They don't look like super soldiers. They don't act like super soldiers. There's nothing super about the super soldiers. So just because I have those thoughts and I see that, or that's my opinion on things, I don't view the phenomenon as not a reality. I think that things have grown legs and some of these stories have taken on a life of their own, right? George Adamski with Orthon and this idea of the humanoids. I brought this up yesterday on Twitter and I was saying, let me see what the tweet said exactly. Just because I feel like I should read it because I was a little like, should I post this? I don't want to sound like somebody that's like bringing race into the ET thing because, I mean, I don't think anybody wants to hear that, but it's in there, right? The race thing, the race card is kind of in there already, like it or not. So I said Nordic aliens, the tall whites, right? It sounds wrong even saying that because it does to say for me to be like the tall whites are here to say, I'm like, it sounds a little wrong. Maybe it's just me. Who knows? It's just kind of cliche. Like European Western depictions of all angels, heavenly, spiritual figures, beings, whatever, having fair skin, blonde hair, and blue eyes. I think it's just an old, outdated stereotype that has been mixed into this story. Because if you pay attention to the time period when Adamski had his sightings, when the humanoid beings, that kind of vibe was existing, it's a time where pop culture would have kind of indicated somebody to say that that's what an ET looked like. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing wrong with Nordic people or people of my skin color, right? I'm saying everyone's beautiful. This idea that they were all, there was like, they're so tall and perfect looking and have beautiful eyes and beautiful hair. I'm like, dude, why don't we ever hear any cases of like super small? You're gonna be like, all the grays are small, but you know what I mean? Like small, chubby, out of shape, didn't care about anything, had no wisdom to give me, just sat there and asked me if he could have a Cheeto. You never hear anything like that. It's always they're coming with wisdom and these wise beings, and I'm like, why would? And just it makes me think like. Because that story and that idea has grown up has grown legs of its own. And it started with the Vril Society. And for me, it just reflects a stereotype that has existed forever. And if somebody's had an experience where they've seen that, I'm not trying to say that you didn't see that. I'm saying possibly it could be that that's sort of what the phenomenon is showing you because it knows what you want to see or thinks that you'll be more comfortable seeing that. I personally would be confused. Like if I was approached by a group of tall, Nordic, blonde haired, blue eyed beings telling me that they had the secrets of the universe and they were here to save the world. I'd be like, this is very strange. I'd rather have a little group of grays come and talk to me than that, just because I feel like I'd be too like, I wouldn't believe it probably. I'd totally be like, nah, this is something else. This is not the phenomenon. Personally, that's what I would feel. Not saying that if that happened to you, that is what I'm saying about your experience. I'm saying maybe the phenomenon makes you see what it wants. I mean, there's lots of literature on that. There's lots of hypotheses out there that point that out. So I don't think it's difficult to take that into consideration. But right away, people, obviously, I made a comment like that. You expect people to come like, oh, why not? Why can't they look like that? And I'm like, it doesn't really make sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And the people that tried to explain it to me really didn't do a good job of it. That's my opinion on it. Not that it was wrong or that I just don't agree with it, right? But that's all stuff that took a life of its own and it's continued. It hasn't stopped. It just gets recycled and pushed and recycled. I was watching a video. I shared a video yesterday on Twitter about a woman from the 90s that claimed that she was from Venus. And it was just like a blonde lady. And I was like, it's just a blonde lady that claims she's from Venus. And a lot of this stuff doesn't get turned off. And it's because people are looking for answers and they're not getting the answers from the right places. So I'm happy that the Galileo project is out there. I'm happy there are still good researchers out there. There are still people that are trying to at least bring us something worth looking at. Let me stop there because this could take forever and we could talk in circles about the humanoid thing. Oh, wait, one more thing before I forget. So I was thinking about the humanoid aspect, the Nordics, this whole thing, and why it doesn't really make sense to me. And then I was thinking about the cases of, they walk among us because they look just like us. Isn't it crazy? Stop and think about it for a second. Basically, if they walk among us and they look like that, right? Then it's, I don't know how to say this without sounding off, but it's like, you don't have to look at anybody of my, anybody from my family. We're not aliens. You know what I mean? You don't got to worry about the brothers and all the other races out there. The Latinos or the Asians or anything like that. You don't have to worry about them. They're not aliens. They're not here to save the planet. Like, you see how ridiculous it sounds when you think about it? It's like, it's totally because of that stereotype that exists and that continued. It's just what people have always thought and continue to think. Some people, some around the world, think is beautiful. Somebody actually said, well, it makes sense. History saw beauty that way, like fair skin and stuff. That's not every culture saw it that way. That was sort of the beginnings of this stereotype. And somehow, some way, I feel like it found its way into ufology or UFOs, the story of UFOs. Now, when I say those things, I was really contradicted about bringing it up too, because I was like, I don't want to offend anybody that's had an experience with a Nordic or a humanoid being that looks like that, or any humanoid being, right? But I wanted to point it out, like, hey, maybe it's the phenomenon just making you see it, because it doesn't really make sense to me. But I could be wrong. Like I said, I will make 1,000 mistakes. But if that is the truth, that is just the weirdest thing I've ever heard. It's crazier than the Greys and the reptilians and the mantis beings. You know what I mean? It's more wild. I don't know if crazy is the right word, but it's more wild of a concept for me to try to mold or grasp. So let's check out the live chat. Let's check out the live chat, because I could talk about that for hours. Let's see. That one time I was abducted, guys, make sure to go check them out. Definitely. They say, hey, John. Hi, Strangeness. Best info right here. Solid stuff. Thank you, man. Anonymous Rex. Hey, thank you for another great show with an important topic. Thanks, man. I was really worried about doing this. I've been a little worried about saying anything negative or anything out of pocket, because it just doesn't seem, I don't see this as negative, but I know what people think. I know how people, you know, how people view this conversation. It's like, oh no, I'm not, you're just a debunker. You're trying, not at all. I'm like the furthest thing from that. Don't forget all the stuff I've done and everything I've talked about and everything I've said. I'm saying, I don't know what it is. It happens every few years to me where I get to a point where I'm like, look, man, I've heard so many stories. I've heard so many claims. I got the government over here covering stuff up. I've got UFO researchers. Half of them are just saying they got sources they can't name and that we have nothing to tie it to. We have no other way to get to the truth here. You don't know who to trust, where to go, where to look. And then the phenomenon on top of it, I am still a huge believer that the phenomenon does not want disclosure. The phenomenon is not having a mass disclosure event. It's abducting people here and there, and it's not something that's openly communicated, which trips me out as well, because it's like, if they were so advanced and they're so evolved and they're so, higher consciousness beings and all this kind of stuff that we hear, they resonate on another level, they're on another wavelength, all this kind of stuff. You would think they would have figured out a way. Let's just use the last 70 years as a time span, 75 years since Roswell. You'd think they would have figured out a way to make open contact with us. I understand we're dangerous. I understand the back and forth with all that. You'd think they would have figured out a way. That's all I'm saying. And it doesn't seem like that's happened. Hey, thank you for this. For the super chat, UFOT. She's currently going through stacks of 1950s and 60s APRO bulletins, and the Nordics blondes are the prevalent common visitor by far. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. And it's part of this idea and this argument that I'm having, and these moments where I'm like, you know what? I should say this. I know people might not like it when I say this kind of stuff or where I have this kind of opinion, but I know what you're talking about. The 1950s to 60s, the APRO bulletins, and the Nordic blonde. That's what I'm saying, man. It has totally to do with the culture at the time. I don't know if it's the phenomenon, maybe just appearing to us in a way it thinks it should. The grays and the rest of it wouldn't make sense if that's what it is, because why would anyone want to see a gray? Maybe I would, but I mean, every other normal person might not want to see a gray. So it's a tricky thing to think about and to talk about. It kind of makes you wonder. Normally it makes me look the other way, right? I will always listen to anyone willing to tell me their story. I will always take everything into consideration. I never want anyone to feel like they haven't been listened to, if they're an experiencer or whatever, right? In any aspect of my life, that's kind of how I work. But it's kind of hard when I remember exactly what you're talking about. That there was this wave of people seeing these kinds of beings, and there was this whole thing that literally has, I'm telling you, it's grown into this a big part of the story that I think it just all spawned from there. And it's crazy when I've been looking for the best evidence I can find online for, like, really, I went into overdrive probably like in the last 4 or 5 months, trying to find something to bring to the table. Anything, forgotten document, anything I could find. And when you do that, the harder you dig and the harder you search, you start to look at things twice, look at things 3 times, and you start thinking to yourself, because I can't find anything. There's a lot of cases out there. There's a lot of proof. There's a lot of stuff. I'm not saying I don't believe in the phenomenon, but I'm saying that one piece of proof that would be like awesome, something overlooked, something forgotten. I haven't been able to find anything. And the things that I do find, the things that I find that have stayed the longest are like the Santilli tapes. You know what I mean? The Ray Santilli tapes that we know that's not a real autopsy. You can see all the back and forth and everything. It's not an autopsy. If somebody tells you it is, It's not a real, it's a hoax autopsy. It's like a prop. It's, maybe you could say it is an autopsy of a dummy, but it's not like a real alien autopsy. And if you watch the full tape, I want you guys to go try to find it online and watch the full thing. When you get to the end of it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at the end of it, there's clips of, you know, the Roswell I-beams, the little pads where people would put their, or the UFO occupants would use to kind of fly the craft that they recovered from the crash at Roswell. The I-beam story seems to have some validity to it, but for some reason it was included in this film, if I'm not mistaken. I'm gonna double check that. I'm gonna backtrack on that one and look at it. But the worst part was that when I was younger, I had no idea, right, that was part of the Santilli tapes, or the Santilli film. Just like the first time I saw the McPherson tapes, the UFO abduction video where it's like a family that gets abducted. The first time I saw that, I saw it on some obscure, right, UFO webpage, lurking, and people were like, this is real. This is a real abduction. This was leaked by the government, blah, blah, blah. They had cut it in a way to where like you couldn't see the opening credits. It just started with like the story. And I just remember being like, this can't be real, dude. But people were totally believing it. People were totally believing it. There was a documentary that was made, like a, you know, like a History Channel kind of show, where they're talking about the tape and they're talking about why they think it's real. And there was researchers there saying like they totally 100% believe that it was real footage that was found in like a burned factory or something, and it was not. Like the filmmaker came out after. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in this field and in this topic. I don't know if field is the right thing to say because we still don't know what we're dealing with yet. But it's wild, man, when you think about it, and it gets really tiring. So part of the inspiration for this, right, is the UCR when they interviewed John Ramirez, and the Theories of Everything interview with Linda Moulin. Now, the UCR, the boys at the UCR, the whole team, I like the dudes, right? I respect it. I get what they're doing. You know, I understand what they're doing. I watch the UCR. I share their stuff. I think they're cool dudes. They did the Big Phone Home, you know, something that I think was kind of a game changer. You know, you see other channels copying that idea. The funny thing is the channels copying that idea are literally like fighting with the UCR. But so I'm watching that like, okay, this is weird. But I thought Rather was doing a fine job asking questions to John. We should expect people to be skeptical. I was super skeptical of John's story. I think John might be a nice guy. You know, I'm not saying his credentials are wrong. I'm not saying his story is off, but I'm saying where he's getting the information from could be whatever. You know, like, I don't know. He's not telling me that he personally was, you know, he's personally the one that can prove to me that the reptilian thing, I think they were talking about reptilians and all this kind of, you know, ideas that I wouldn't expect to be coming back into the sphere, coming back into the circle at this point. Am I saying it's all wrong? Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Right. But I thought the way they were going back and forth and asking each other questions, you could tell that Rather was just skeptical, and he was trying to kind of ask him things. He was trying to ask him things that he wanted to know, you know, like if he could talk about. So for me, when I saw people freaking out about it, saying that he was attacking him and all this stuff, I was like, dude, those are the kind of questions that we need to hear. I understand. Like, look, Richard Dolan is probably one of my favorite researchers. Some people hate Richard Dolan, and I understand that. And Richard Dolan has made mistakes. I think he was, if I'm not mistaken, he was tied to the Nazca mummy thing. an event where they were like talking about the Nazca mummies. I'm saying researchers make mistakes. It's fine. Some people can't prove what they're talking about. It's fine. Right? We don't need to like idolize everybody. It's very important to like champion your heroes, champion the people that you think are doing the right thing, but also don't just idolize people for no reason. That's my opinion with that. I saw how people reacted. It was fine. I get it. People get, they were mad. But I thought the questions he was asking were not like insulting. I thought the only person that really insulted anybody at the end of the interview there was John, because he said something like, "You're asking these stupid questions." And I was like, wow, like the only person that said stupid the whole time was John. And he might be a nice guy. I'm not saying anything really negative about him. Like I said, I am skeptical of where he's getting his information from. Not that his story is wrong, not that his background's wrong. And the Linda Moulton Howe thing, I feel like if you ever watched an interview with Kurt, you'll notice that his personality is kind of like the same way his personality has always been. That's kind of who he is. And Linda is a legend in this field. So she's got a lot of people that look up to her, that appreciate her work, and that tune into her and listen to her and follow what she does. And she's been doing work for a long time. She's educated. Everything she was saying at the end of the interview when she got offended was true, right? But at the same time, the questions that were coming were not from Kurt. They were from the community online. And I know there were some tricky ones in there that were like planted, I guess, to like stir things up. But you would expect somebody with so much experience in this field, where people are constantly throwing daggers, people are constantly throwing axes at you. It's like you're on that what is that spinning wheel with the target behind you, and you got the apple in your mouth and they're throwing stuff at you. That's literally what it feels like sometimes. So I thought the reaction was kind of off the walls a little bit. It would have been great to hear her just say the picture. If that really was a picture, I don't even know the story about, the eyeball from her webpage that was like a gray. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe the person that built the webpage put it up. I don't know what the whole story is behind it, so I can't really say much, but there's nothing wrong with making mistakes in this field, no matter how credible you are, no matter what your background is, no matter how many years you've been looking into this. This topic has no answers. You will make mistakes. You will make mistakes. It's wild, man, because it's like we rip each other apart. We really do sometimes in this community. It's like we need to know people make mistakes. Everything's fine. Let's work together. Let's find the truth. I'm so tired of sitting around just waiting for answers, right? I don't know about you guys. It's like, oh, that's another thing. John did say this. He said, you guys should be grateful that, I'm not quoting him, but it was kind of like this, right? He said, you guys should be grateful that the government is opening up and talking to you guys more and interacting with you guys more. And I don't know about you guys, but I was a little offended by that. Because I was like, how many people have died looking into this topic while we were waiting for somebody to come tell us something? How many people have spent their lives looking into this? How many people have lost careers, have lost family members, have lost everything because the world didn't believe them about their close encounter or whatever? And you're going to tell me to be grateful? Tell me that's not like the wrong way to say it. I get it. I understand it, right? Somebody reached out to me on Twitter and kind of did the same thing, saying like, you don't deserve to know the truth. Kind of like, you're not smart enough. And they were also tied to, their background was in like, I guess it was military or something. And they kind of tried to belittle me with their comments by saying that like, we don't deserve to know the truth because we don't understand the difference between a medical procedure and a checkup or something, right? And I was like, dude, that's not the point. The point is that if there is a phenomenon interacting with us, I think it should be, the whole world should know about it because it's going to change everything. I almost made today's talk about why I think that the truth tied to UFOs will not destroy the economy, will not bring the end of religion, will not do any of those things that people are saying it's going to do. I do not believe that at all. Like, the end of religion, I don't think that'll ever happen. If there's aliens, if there's zombies, if whatever, chupacabras attacking people on the streets, I don't think the end of religion will ever happen. Humans will always be looking for faith out there. You know, they'll always be trying to find something something more than was here, something to have faith in. I don't think that'll ever happen. Even if they find out that, you know, the UFOs like created us, they probably won't even believe it if they find out that aliens created us, just like they don't believe in evolution. Some of them. I'm saying religion will not end. Yes, there might be bumps for them. There might be issues, but it won't end. The economy, how could the idea that the economy will crash? Did you guys see what happened with COVID? Like, people were literally dying from COVID, and people had to go to work eventually because you couldn't buy food because you need money. The economy will never crash to the point where money disappears. You know, even if they get the tech or whatever and they try to make money with it, they're just going to make money with it. You know what I mean? It's not going to crash the economy and send the world into ruin and end everything. That's completely bogus. It will change everything. It'll change everything for sure. And there'll be big changes, small changes, all kinds of different, you know, views on the world. They're worried about, like, I heard somebody worried about like cults and religions starting from disclosure. That already happens, man. That's another thing with the snake oil, the UFO cults and all that kind of stuff. That is very real. And that exists. Billy Meyer. There we go. Talking about UFO cults. Billy Meyer. I've tried to say it a million times, man. This guy does not go away. This story has, you know, the other day on the last live, we were talking about the X-Files poster, the iconic poster from X-Files that's in Mulder's office. And I said it was a Adamski photo. I mixed it up. I want to correct that. It was a Billy Meyer photo. But that's how far and how impacting that story is. Like, how far it's reached. Apart from never going away and having, I don't know what the name of his little representative is that seems to attack people when they talk about Billy Meyer. Somehow he pops up. He's like the boogeyman. Like, it's crazy. And this dude has like a cult and like a religion, like straight up. And it's all based off of mostly hoaxes. I would say 100% hoaxes. I just say mostly, just in case there's somebody out there that I'm breaking their heart right now saying this. I'm sorry, but I have to say it. Dude is full of hoaxes. Like, it's all just garbage. It's all nonsense. Do not tell me, you know, the argument where people come at you and say like, maybe this is fake, but this is true. This looks real. So he shared this fake stuff and this, and in there's this real part. I don't want to deal with that anymore. I'm sorry. Next case. I'm done dealing with that. And I think we all should do it so we can get to the good cases, you know. Let me check out the live chat. Lisa, if anyone knows a cool humanoid, please send them to come have a glass of wine with me. That's awesome. Mike, what's up, Mike? Thank you for being here, man. Let me check out what's going on here. My sources are my eyes and my camera. Look, unfortunately, I don't know how to say this, but I'm worried that, like, really the only way for us to get any way closer to the real truth, the full truth, is to like go on our own journeys. Don't wait for answers. Go search for the truth. Put yourself out there. Go try to find it. Don't wait for answers, man. Because even within the UFO community, there are secrets. And outside, we have the government cover-ups. There are secrets. It's like you have no idea where to turn, who to talk to, who's really telling you the truth. It really does happen. It really, take it from me. Like, High Strangeness says, same thing in the spiritual arc, demonic possessions or poltergeists. Everything seems to be based off perception. That's true. You know, I've said this before, but demonic possession exists in certain cultures and not in other cultures. And it's mostly the idea of demonic possession is really focused on, like, again, Eastern, Western religions. Like, other cultures don't even have demonic possession. They don't have exorcists. The Vatican has exorcists, but then I've always asked myself, like, what does that mean about, I don't know, some dude in rural Japan gets possessed by a supposed demonic entity? Like, how would a Catholic priest be able to pull that entity out of the person? It just doesn't make sense to me personally. I don't know if you guys saw, oh man, I shared this clip too on Twitter a minute ago. It was I keep blocking the light. It was Stephen Greer, and he's on the Alex Jones channel, or Alex Jones InfoWars, whatever it's called. Oh my God. I mean, he's saying, like, I understand. I couldn't kind of understood where he was coming from. It was just wild to hear him say it. Like, he said that people confuse extraterrestrials with interdimensionals, right? So extraterrestrials and interdimensionals are completely different. So look how we're broadening the scope here. The extraterrestrials that he's talking about are good and benevolent. The interdimensionals, the demons, which is what the government is trying to make us think these beings are bad. They're monsters. He said the word monsters. He said that he went, I don't know, to the desert, to some secret underground thing, and worked on some project called the Cube. Or he heard about the project called the Cube because he knew the guy that worked there. And they were bringing these demonic entities, or these creatures, these interdimensional beings, from the non-physical into the physical, and they had them running around like the lab, right? I'm like, dude, first of all, that sounds like something out of Stranger Things, which is it's what he said. He said, I know this sounds like something out of Stranger Things, but they took that from me, from this story. And I'm like, man, this is just getting out of hand, dude. Look, for me, interdimensional, extraterrestrial, all the same thing. They're all not from Earth. They're all not from this world. And I would believe that if they are the beings that we're talking about, if they are really here, I doubt they're traveling back and forth through space, making little trips here to pick up pieces of cow or soil samples, or to have a baby with somebody. I think that it's something that has been here since the beginning of time, that is intertwined into our story, into our history, that has been evading us for some reason forever. Maybe because it likes to, the only thing I can imagine is it likes to manipulate us, which brings me back to something, John Keel's work, where they really brought up this trickster element. Jack Valet talks about it too. It keeps bringing me back to that. And the hardest part with that is that then we're dealing with like a Loki kind of creature, a Loki kind of entity, where it's like, is it really flying saucers? Or is it something deeper and something more intense to think about? Because flying saucers, it's all good, but I don't think they're from the moon. I don't think they're from Jupiter. I don't think they're from Mars. I think there's life out there. I think there is definitely life out there. And I think maybe these beings can travel through dimensions, and they can travel to those places. Who knows? But the rabbit hole can get very deep. So I think we need to find ground, a common ground, and kind of all understand that when people ask questions that are hard-hitting and they don't align with what we ask in the UFO community, they're not looking at these people the way we look at, researchers. They're looking at them like they want to know what they're talking about. We can't jump the gun. That's going to happen now, especially if the topic becomes more and more accepted and talked about. We should expect the highest tier researchers that we have, the ones that have been in this game for a long time, to be able to go in front of the world and tell them what they believe and back it up. Because the academics are going to come from the people that have backgrounds and all kinds of stuff are going to come from. They're going to want to know how they know this. How did they figure this out? Where did they get those answers from? Where did they get that hypothesis from? I don't know. And it sucks to say that because I've always looked into Linda's work, but I also always look, I still think Linda's awesome. I don't think anything's wrong with Linda. I think it was just a weird reaction, but it made sense. I guess she got offended, right? People get offended. But let's get back to the snake oil salesman. Now, I want you guys to let me know who comes to mind when I say snake oil salesman in the live chat. Let me know who comes to mind for you guys. I'm looking at the live chat. Let's see. Ken Wood says, I don't think they're all visiting. People have been seeing UFOs for over 4,000 years on this planet. Our Navy is currently in a cat and mouse game with advanced beings that live in our oceans. That's interesting. I don't think they're visiting either. And I've said it a million times. I think that if they wanted to be anywhere, for them hiding in the ocean would be the best thing. Or maybe just living in the ocean. We keep saying hiding. I've always thought, wouldn't it be funny if these were not even aliens? In the sense of the word alien, like off of this planet. They were actually, this is their planet as well. And it's been their planet. Because that's kind of what it seems like. It seems more to me like that than aliens taking trips and visiting on vacation. As soon as I hear reptilian, I'm out, lol. Dude, I couldn't agree with you more. Look, if you look into ancient cultures, the snake symbol, the humanoid snake kind of beings, they're out there. They exist. Just like humanoid beings with bull heads and goat horns and all this kind of stuff. I don't think reptilians control the world. Straight up. I'm going to tell you right now. Anything I've listened to David Icke speak, I don't think he's on to something there with that. I think rich people control the world. They don't need to be reptilians. Like, people are evil enough. Human beings are evil enough. We don't need to turn them into shape-shifting lizards. Just think of the wars that get started. Think of all the people starving of hunger, people out on the streets without a home, and big companies and corporations just, you walk into a supermarket and everything's there. Everything's there and we pay for it. But if we wanted to, we could just feed all the people that need to be fed. There's so much empty land out there that's being sold. And there's people, my phone's not on silent. And there's people, that don't have a home. And we're talking about evil reptilians and stuff like that. Like, dude, I hate that. I hate that. Humans need to realize that we're probably the most evil thing on the planet. Human beings are. So we don't need monsters under our beds. They exist. And you're looking at them right now. So has Ramirez been on Project Unity? I think he has. Look, I may not agree always with everybody's take on the phenomenon. Like I said, I don't like being in circles where everyone is agreeing about the same thing. I feel like that's just a cult, where we all have the exact same take. I think if you look at the sky, everybody's going to see it different. Yeah, it's blue, but we might all see it differently. And I want that for this topic. It's just abstract. It's a diverse topic. So I might be saying things that people don't agree with, and that's totally fine. And I hope that people can understand that and respect that and still talk to me and interact with me. You know what I mean? Let's check out Electronic Products Review Guru. Hey, he says, hey, John, have you come to the realization that the UFOs are controlled by a non-human intelligence that lives in our oceans? That's interesting. I mean, that's what we were talking about a second ago. A non-human intelligence. That word always, the non-human intelligence thing, the NHI thing, it always makes me stop and take a double take. Let me see. Lisa Ramirez says, Lisa, she says, John Ramirez was a source to Jay for months before he became public. We went to Jay's Discord server for a long time, and he's always seemed legit to me. That's what I mean. I'm saying people can have completely different opinions. Pro-illusionists, I may be wrong. I think that his sources or where he's getting his information from, for me, it's hard for me to be like, okay, this dude knows exactly what he's talking about. It's almost like, who is the ex? I'm forgetting this. The guy from Canada. I'm forgetting his name. You guys know who I'm talking about. Let me see. I think it's the ex-prime minister. No, it's not. It's what I always say, and it's not bad. Let's see. I got a new table here. I think I told you guys last time. It's super small, though. Canada's ex-defense minister. I made a whole video about it. When I heard Paul Hellyer, that's his name, talk about it, I thought it was super amazing that he was saying that. But then I found out that he was hearing that from sources. Thank you, guys. Space Cow. Yep. There we go. Hellyer. Thank you. He was hearing that from sources. Like he wasn't having face-to-face contact with the beings that were at White Sands. You know what I mean? He was hearing about these races and different beings and all this kind of stuff. He was like, real good UFO researchers have been talking about that stuff for a long time. And there are people that work for the government that are into UFOs. Don't forget the people that work for the government are just normal day, average people. They're normal people. They all have beliefs. They all have what they're into. They all have their hobbies. And Pro says, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying John believes. Pro says, you're right, John. I think Ramirez believes what he's being told, and that's what I think. I think he believes what he's being told. That's why when I heard the interview, on the UCR, I was not really like, I wasn't really taken back by the interaction, because I know that, Rather's kind of skeptical at times, and he's intelligent, so he's asking these questions. I feel like some of these intelligent questions get under people's skin too. That happened totally on the theory of everything with Kurt in the beginning when they were talking about those materials and the metal tests and all that. And then he started asking about different ways of testing metal and how they tested the metal. You could see that it was like putting kind of Linda in an uncomfortable spot. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to keep happening. And I don't know if it's wrong or it's right. I think maybe he could have said it better. Who knows? I wasn't really tripping. I wasn't really like, I didn't see any of that coming when I watched it. Obviously, I saw the comments before, but if I had watched that live, I would have been like, what is going on? When everything kind of went off the rails there. Space Cow says, we adore Hellyer up here in Canada. I like Hellyer. Like, I swear that when I saw the story, I just jumped for it. I think I made a video about it. I talked about it on the channel a long time ago, years ago. And I thought it was interesting. No matter what, the guy has a good background, and you'd expect a guy like that to be, not just out there saying nonsense. So that is something that I take into consideration with John Ramirez, with, Hellyer and all these people. Those are things that I do take into consideration. But then I also realize that a lot of these people, like, have you ever met somebody that's really skilled at something? They're like a tradesman or whatever, a dentist, or I'm sure lots of you have those kinds of people in your family. They're just normal people, but you trust them with your teeth, for example, a dentist, but it's just a normal person. But if they're going to talk to you about teeth, you're going to believe everything they say, but they're just normal people at the end of the day. Just like pilots, just like, they're trained to see the things in the sky, so we can trust them a bit more than we can anyone else. But at the end of the day, too, they're all people. The CIA is full of people that are into the paranormal. Definitely. I think there would be a lot of people in there. He has a ton of fans. We're talking about Paul here. He should have a ton of fans. I think he's awesome. Andy says, the government paid for space aliens and werewolf research, for the love of God. America has issues, man. Follow that money. That's funny, man. You know, I would love to go to Skinwalker Ranch. I would love to go. People are like, oh no, but what if the Skinwalker gets you? I'm like, you know what? If I go getting mangled by a Skinwalker instead of dying of old age, if I can go with the truth, then I'll be happy. If I die from old age, still searching for the truth, still in the shadows, still doing, having this back and forth, this kind of situation. Oh man, what an unfortunate way to travel on to the next realm. Definitely. Lisa says, Linda Moulton-Howe will never do another interview. Look, Linda's awesome. I think she might have been a little jumpy from other interviews that have caught her off guard, where they tried to set her up a bit. I think she's jumpy from that too. She doesn't want people to take her career into question because she's a professional. I mean, the stuff she was saying is true about her professional background and all that, but I don't know. And he says, always open, but I've followed up all this for 30 years. Same old new people, new suckers. It's true, though. That is true. I'm not going to lie with you there, Andy. It is the same people behind those, exactly that location with Skinwalker Ranch. It's kind of trippy to think about. That it's kind of closed off because I guess it's dangerous. What I would do is try to get, tell me if I'm wrong here. I would get a bunch of creatives, people that know how to use cameras, drones, and leave them on Skinwalker Ranch for a week. Have them 24/7 streaming, running their cameras, nighttime, daytime, drones flying, and see what they could find. Because I watched, I don't know the name of the show, the Skinwalker Show. And I was just okay, there was nothing really interesting happening there. So that's why I'd love to go there. What they were saying, you could find in the books. I mean, it's all kind of, if you do any research on Skinwalker, you will definitely find out a lot of the stuff that they're saying has already been talked about before. But I also made a video about Skinwalker a long time ago. It's one of my favorite videos that I ever did. Andy says, you'll probably get cancer from dodgy tests at Skinwalker, not ghosts or aliens, maybe some plasma lights, strange geology. I don't know, man. I definitely want to find the truth. That's something that I think fascinates me about people. There's a lot of people that are into this topic that maybe they're just fascinated by it. But I am fascinated by it, but it's to the point now that I really do want to go find something. I'm not just reading for fun. I'm not just reading because I'm oh, cool, this is great. I really do want to find the truth. It's not a gimmick. It's not oh, yeah. I think it's out there. I think the phenomenon, again, is probably the biggest proponent in disclosure not being a thing. It's the most shadiest part of this whole situation. The government, the cover-ups, it's all real. It's not a conspiracy. It just is what it is. They seem to believe that we're not ready for whatever it is they know. And yeah, I am looking for the truth. So if I have to go to Skinwalker Ranch to find it, if I have to go here or there, I've had some strange experiences in my life that have left me wanting to see what that really was all about. Nothing UFO related so far, too crazy. But if you check out my channel, I've had some weird stories. They're stories for me. They're my experiences. I'm not going to go around pushing them on people, trying to say that is something that should change your belief system or what you think. They're my experiences. But I don't even really think about them too often. That's how much of my experience it is. It's like a memory. It's like something that happened to me that changed me, the way that I think, the way that I view things. But that's about it, Space Gal says, me too, Lisa. Just to meet one would be Trey cool. I don't know. People always tell me like, oh no, but you should be careful because, you could have a bad time and this and that. I think the health effects, right? The health effects that could occur when coming into close contact with the craft. It seems to be something that's being put on the table now as something serious, right? Which I also have talked about in the past. Um, I would take that into consideration, but it makes me wonder about the experiences that get on craft, right? How come they don't have health effect or any sort of effects on their health, negative effects? Like I've heard of stories of lots of experiencers getting sick later in life. So maybe that's what it is, but I don't know. I have to keep looking into it. Lisa just said the same thing I was saying. She said, Lisa says, wonder why some people get radiation burns, etc., and not others. The most interesting cases have physical effects. That's true. And I've totally spent days thinking about that. And we're not going to be able to figure it out yet. We have to keep questioning, keep looking, keep searching. So I hope that I didn't crush anybody's dreams today talking about certain people. I didn't even bring up Corey Good and David Wilcock, which I think are two people that just run. Okay? Run away. Don't even think about it. Just run the other way. The list really goes on and on and on when it comes to Snake Oil Salesmen, and maybe sometimes they're not even trying to sell us a story or sell us something wrong or tell us something wrong. Maybe they've been tricked. Maybe they've been misinformed. Another thing that stood out to me about Linda Moulton Howell's interview on TOE, or the Theory of Everything, was she said at one point, like, one of my favorite things to do to get insider information is to, if somebody comes up to me at a UFO conference, because there's lots of noise and it's hard for people to hear, they open up to me and they tell me things. And the first thing that I thought when I heard that was, that is the worst advice you could give anyone. That is horrible advice. I'm sorry, but it's terrible advice, because if disinformation is a real thing, which I think sometimes we do it to ourselves, just like I said, we hoax ourselves. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. But if you're at a UFO conference and you're like a top speaker, you're like a top voice there, you should expect, if there is disinformation or any of that, you should expect somebody to come up to you and tell you, hey, it's like the easiest thing in the world. It's like fishing. It's like fish in a barrel. They could change the whole story. Like if they grab any of the top voices and give them some fake documents or a fake story or a fake whatever, they're going to come to us and tell us a story, and then we're all going to believe it. That's the craziest part of this. You can vet it all you want. You can check who they were. But if I'm at a UFO conference and I'm speaking or whatever, which I couldn't imagine, but if that ever did happen, and somebody with a military background or a government background comes up to me in a conference about UFOs and tells me, I know the secret, I know the truth, this is it, I will probably run the other way. Richard Doty vibes off the Richter scale, I would run the other way. I can't believe Richard Doty can still get into UFO conferences. The other day I heard somebody say, oh, he didn't even kill that UFO researcher. He didn't drive him crazy. He was already crazy. That's still not the point. The point is that Richard Doty was there doing that. He was kind of, he was a spy in there. And if that was happening then, you should consider it can happen at any time, and you should learn from the past, learn from mistakes. Don't continue to make them. And telling people that the best place to get a source is at a UFO conference, it's literally like fish in a barrel for anybody trying to change up the whole story, rewrite UFO, the UFO story. It's kind of the craziest part too. It's what spawned this a little bit, was the idea that our strongest sources are coming from the people that kept secrets from us. Isn't that bonkers? Isn't that wild? Like, the strongest sources we have are people that have kept the secret from us, or were paid to keep the secret from us, or ordered to keep the secret from us. And for some reason, they're coming out and telling us the story, but it just doesn't, I don't know. It's like, it's crazy, because I'm so tired of hearing these stories of people with sources that are like military sources or government sources. I want like a shaman to come up to me in the jungle, in the fucking forest. Oh, I probably just got demonetized for saying the F word, but in the forest, and point me to a UFO. I don't know. I don't want like I don't want this like packaged. Like, it's just the back and forth we've had for like 70 years. It's been this whole back and forth. People saying it's not true. There's no cover up. There's totally a cover up. There's totally been people looking into this for a long time. They know a lot more than they put on, man. You know, there was this quote, I don't remember from what podcast, but I saw it on Twitter the other day, and it was a saying, it was just a piece of it where Lou said, I think it was the triangle shaped craft and the saucer craft. We know what's in those, but it's the Tic Tacs. We don't know what's in those. And I was like, what? I remember hearing that, and it just like went through me. It pierced through me. Like, because if you look into this topic for real, and you believe that people are actually having negative encounters or positive encounters or whatever, and they can interact with us, at any minute of the day, or on any part of the world, and you think that there's people that know who's inside the saucers. The saucers are linked to so many abduction cases. The saucers are linked to so many negative things. The triangle craft also. Doesn't it trip you out to hear that? I don't know. For me, I couldn't sleep, man. I couldn't sleep. I was losing sleep about it. I was trying to think about like what it could mean. Maybe it was just like, we know, we don't really know, but we have an idea of who's in it. But it's just a bit strange. It's a strange comment that he dropped that has literally echoed through my mind for quite some time, because it's like, wouldn't it trip you guys out if they really knew that all that kind of stuff was happening, and there was no like real importance put on the everyday average person? Wouldn't that trip you out? Wouldn't that make you more worried about this topic and about the way it was handled and about everything that's going on? I don't know, man. Andy said, Scamwalker. That's funny, man. Is it as bad as the cover of said book? Does it even look serious? Bigelow and Senator Reid made a lot of dollars. American taxpayers, New Age dollars, insane. Look, I enjoy the Skinwalker story. Now, I would love to go there and see it for myself and experience it myself. The day that I can go there and see it for myself, experience it for myself, then I promise, Andy, I will let you know what it's like, what happened. If nothing happens, I'll tell you nothing happened. If something happens, I will tell you what happened. And hopefully, if I ever do go, I have a camera on. I have something to document it. And I don't know, dude. At Skinwalker, I'm going to keep saying the same thing. They need to get some young, creative minds out there with cameras and drones and ATVs and just camping out there to see what happens. I don't know. Let's see. So yeah. So I wanted to bring this up. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. I hope I didn't crush anybody's dreams. Like I said earlier, I didn't mean to offend anybody. Make sure to go check out the channels that were here today. They're all awesome. I want to thank you guys as always. Morcavius for dropping by, Lisa for dropping by, Space Cow, Andy, Pro Illusionist, always being here, man. Thank you. UFOT, thank you so much for being here. Andy, I don't know if I'm repeating people, but That one time I was abducted. Thank you guys for being here. Mike, everyone, man. Lord Ludacris played. Thank you. I really enjoy these talks with you guys. I hope you guys enjoy them too. You know, I'm glad to be back. Seems like everything's working again. 2022, man, we can't stop searching for the truth. We definitely need to continue to search for the truth. It's not done. Disclosure is not close. We aren't there yet. So keep going down the rabbit hole. Keep looking for answers. Think for yourselves. Remember that the snake oil salesmen exist. Just keep that in mind. Don't point any fingers. But just remember, we need the truth. It's the most important part. And I hope we can all work together to try and find that. So we will talk soon. Thank you guys. As always, you guys rock. See you guys next time.